Okay, so this is the start of the review. I may edit this little portion out later, but we'll see what happens. So we're going to go back into the game. So, Mana, I believe it was. I could be wrong, and if I am truly sorry to whoever it was that did make the suggestion. It may have been Vex. It was either Mana or Vex. Made the suggestion or asked the question if I was going to do a review, and I hadn't initially planned to do one, but I feel that doing a post-game review is definitely a good idea, even though the game came out in 2008. I still want to give some final thoughts on the whole thing. Dead Space 2 is a very interesting beast. Or Dead Space 1. Dead Space 2 is definitely one as well, but Dead Space 1 is definitely an interesting beast. It pioneered a lot of aspects of the, up until this point, basically when you break it down, it's zombies in space. And it did something new with the whole zombie thing. As far as I'm aware, no other game had really hard focused the don't damage the body, don't damage the head, sever the limbs kind of gameplay. And so, every other game that I've ever played has always focused on, headshots, body shots, don't miss, that kind of thing. And then this game come along and it's like, no, you gotta shoot them in the limbs, cut their limbs off, or else you're just wasting ammo. Like, you'll still kill them, but it'll take you longer. So that gameplay mechanic from the get-go is already really interesting. And in this first game, Isaac is a silent protagonist. And I believe starting with Dead Space 2, he has voice lines, because he's actually interacting with other people, trying to teach them how to fight these things and survive on Titan Station in the second game. And I feel like at some points that's a good thing, and at other points it's not. Because it definitely... if Isaac had been talking the whole time, it kind of imposes on the player what to be thinking. But with Isaac being a silent protagonist throughout the entire game, it's your thoughts running through your head like, this is fucked up. What's going to happen next? I'm scared. I'm alone. I keep hearing voices, whispers, recordings. I keep seeing stuff out of the corners of my eye. So, I definitely appreciate that he's a silent protagonist in this game, because there's a lot of world building going on, and I feel like that would be interrupted if your character was constantly talking. The sound design, obviously, is the star of the show. It's terrifying from the very start of the game. It leaves you with a feeling of dread. Like I said, constantly hearing whispers, scratching in the walls, creatures crawling through air ducts. You get a lot of cues, like I was talking about earlier in my playthrough. Different enemies have different sounds. The babies have a high-pitched shriek. The normal necromorphs just have like a guttural yell. The big, like, mini-boss types have like it almost sounds like a rhino and an elephant fighting with someone roaring behind it. And so you get a lot of combat cues from the sound. And when I first played through, when the game first came out, I didn't have headphones to play it with, or at least I chose not to. I don't know which. Probably the first. But anyway, the sound of Isaac's heartbeat throughout the game, ramping up and beating louder and harder whenever you're in combat or something stressful is going on, or something scary happens. It's a nice touch. It puts on that feeling of anxiety. Because you probably would feel your own heartbeat if you were locked away in like a relatively airtight suit. And the whispers in the background, especially when you get into the later levels and you hear like the chanting and the twinkle twinkle little star in the background, is like it's supposed to be a comforting nursery rhyme, but to hear when you're a kid, your parents sing it to you to get you to go to sleep. For some people, and then here it's like, it's just some lady singing it in the distance, and it definitely adds to just the overall spooky, uneasy vibe. Obviously, the inventory is a big drawback. It's very clunky. It's sort of unintuitive. and there would be times where I would go to be either picking up an object or interacting with something in the game, and I couldn't because there was an object that I couldn't pick up right in front of it, or close enough to it that the game was trying to get me to pick it up even though I couldn't, so I'd have to step back, clear out an inventory space to pick up the item, and then sometimes even have to drop the item because I don't need it. This is a little bit frustrating, but it's the first in the franchise, and it's a game from 2008, so there's definitely some understanding on that part. The Chapter 12, Dead Space. Military suit unlocked. Backstory logs unlocked. 50,000 credits. 10 power nodes. Impossible mode unlocked. Guess I'll save. Save here. But back to what I was saying. It's not the most original idea, but it definitely has enough original going for it to set it apart from similar games. And the overarching story is really good. There's a lot of nuance going on in the background. If you're not reading the logs, then you miss a lot. Which is, with a lot of games, but not enough to where you won't be able to understand what's going on. And for whatever reason, the PC port of the game seems to have some issues with aiming controls. They're a little clunky, and there was a couple of like the shooting the asteroids, and the first time that I did the tentacle drag event, I died because I just couldn't aim quickly enough, and I had to switch back to mouse controls for the aiming. So that's a little bit frustrating, but I feel like that's more an issue with whoever did the PC port than with the game itself. So I can forgive that, because obviously the console version wouldn't have that issue. But overall, for me personally, I would definitely say that this is one of the best horror games of all times, like survival horror games of all time. I would say the only games that I would put in the same league as it are a good chunk of the Resident Evil franchise, Fatal Frame, Clock Tower, even though Clock Tower's got its own myriad of issues, but as far as just straight for the sake of being a survival horror game, I would definitely say this is probably one of the better games that I've ever played, for sure. But I would also say, unbiasedly, just looking at the landscape, I would say it's probably one of the best ones made, period. I'd say, I don't know, because there's a lot of horror games. I would say it definitely breaks the top 20, I would say. Overall, unbiased, just bare bones facts. But for me personally, I'd say it probably pushes it even further and breaks top 10, if not top 5. But, I definitely appreciate everybody coming along for the ride. It was definitely fun. I may, if I can, get Dead Space 2 and start streaming that tomorrow. The only issue is the start of this week, I had, a good number of days off. I'm still, working full time. But as far as continuing to stream, it's going to be, from a week-to-week basis. So I'll definitely be trying to keep people up to date with my schedule so that we can hammer stuff out and be looking forward to things instead of just guerrilla streams. I appreciate the raid from Gamma earlier today. That really made me feel special. It's really, really awesome that I have such amazing, supportive, and kind friends. And I appreciate all of the people that have stopped by. I appreciate everybody who's come back to look at the VOD. Who knows, maybe 2-3 years from now I become a bigger streamer, and a lot of people come back to watch the first series that I did a retrospective on, that I streamed at all, really. and that's exciting to think about. I'm nervous. Just as a post note, I'm nervous about my future as a streamer, but I'm also optimistic and hopeful, and I believe in myself. I'm confident. It's just one of those things that I'm going to have to learn and improve on and grow. And I hope that everyone that's here now, uh, that decides to come along with me on that journey, has a good time. I hope that I'm able to make it entertaining and fun. And I hope that people that join later will, be able to appreciate the growth that I've gone through. And I'm excited for the future. But for now, that is the end of Dead Space 1, a retrospective. I'm going to be uploading the VOD from Part 2 and today's VOD and this review here tonight and tomorrow. I hope everyone stays safe and has a fun and productive October. Spooky month. Spooktober. I'm going to end the stream now. Oh, wait, actually, no, hold up. I'm going to try and see if I can get a handle on this. Unfortunately, I don't have anybody that I could raid on, unless I was looking for some rando. So I guess I'll just cold cut it there. Everybody have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.